tonight's reorganization meeting at 6:04 p.m. with a flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Hoover? Here. Dr. Krug?
Here.
Mrs. Krug?
Here.
Mr. Krimenacher?
Here.
Mrs. Krimenacher?
Here.
Mrs. Lee?
Here.
Mr. Basil?
Here.
Mr. Westrick?
Here.
Ms. Zinchuk?
Here.
Okay, just for the record, it just came out of an executive session prior to the meeting for contract and personnel issues, okay? No? Okay. All right, so we have to do the reorganization meeting right now. So the first item is temporary president. I would need a motion, I'd need nominations for temporary president. And that's to run the reorganization part of the
We
meeting.
need a motion to appoint somebody as temporary president. Appoint Kevin Krug. Do we have a second?
Do I need to do the roll calls? Okay. All right, motion by Mr. Jared Krimenacher. Second by Mrs. Marr. Was that Marr?
Yeah.
Mrs. Marr Krimenacher. Okay, that would be for Kevin Krug as temporary president. Let's do a roll call. I'm sorry. Yep, let's do a roll call.
Mrs. Hoover?
Yes.
Dr. Krug?
Yeah.
Mrs. Krug?
Yes.
Mr. Krimenacher?
Yes.
Mrs. Krimenacher?
Yes.
Mrs. Lee?
Yes.
Mr. Basil?
Yes.
Mr. Westrick?
Yes.
Ms. Zinchuk?
Yes.
Okay. Since we don't have any new board members, we can skip the oath of office. Let's do the order of voting. Be it resolved, the Board of Education establishes the order of voting alphabetically as follows. Mrs. Hoover, myself, Kevin Krug, Norma Krug, Gerald Krimenacher, Mara Krimenacher, Carol Lieb, Mike Basil, Bob Westrick, and Jen Zenchuk. I'll make the motion for that. Second, Mr. Gerald Krimenacher. Questions or comments on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Motion carries.
Okay, Board of Directors, be it resolved, the list of the elected school directors of the Northern Cambria School District be read and made part of the minutes of the meeting as follows. You have them all there. Mrs. Hoover is 2025, along with Mr. Basil, Mr. Westrick, and Mr. Zenchuk. Myself, Norma Krug, Gerald Krimenacher, Mara Krimenacher, and Carol Lieb are 2027. I'll make the motion.
Second.
So, Mrs. Jen Zenchuk, any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Motion carries.
Okay, election of officers.
Nominations for president.
The nominations for president.
I nominate Kevin Krug. I'll second. Any other nominations?
Are there any other nominations? Okay. Let's see. Be it resolved, the Board of Education close the nomination for president.
We need a motion.
I'll make
I
Second.
make a motion by Mr. Jerry Krimenacher, second by Mr. Mike Basil. Roll call.
Dr. Krug?
Yeah.
Mrs. Krug?
Yes.
Mr. Krimenacher?
Yes.
Mrs. Krimenacher?
Yes.
Mrs. Lee?
Yes.
Mr. Basil?
Yes.
Mr. Westrick?
Yes.
Ms. Zinchuk?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, that means Kevin Krug has been elected to the office of president by a 9-0 vote. In accordance with the Sunshine Act, the vote was as follows. Daniel Hoover, yes. Myself, yes. Norma Krug, yes. Joe Krimenacher, yes. Mark Krimenacher, yes. Carol Lieb, yes. Mike Basil, yes. Bob Westrick, yes. And Jennifer Zenchuk, yes. All right, nominations for vice president.
I'll nominate Carol.
I'll second that.
You want to do it again?
Any other nominations for vice president? Okay, Carol Lieb. Nominated by Mrs. Norma Krug, seconded by, was that you, Mark?
Oh, yeah.
Mrs. Mara Krimenacher. Roll call.
Mrs. Krug?
Yes.
Mr. Krimenacher?
Yes.
Mrs. Krimenacher?
Yes.
Mrs. Lee?
Yes.
Mr. Basil?
Yes.
Mr. Westrick?
Yes.
Ms. Zinchuk?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover?
Yes.
Dr. Krug?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, Carol Lieb has been elected to the office of Vice President by a 9-0 vote. In accordance with the Sunshine Act, the vote is as follows: Danielle Hoover, yes; Kevin Krug, yes; Norman Krug, yes; Joe Krimenacher, yes; Mark Krimenacher, yes; Carol Lee, yes; Mike Basil, yes; Bob Westbrook, yes; and Jennifer Zenshaw, yes. Okay, be resolved, the Board of Education will hold committee of the whole meetings of the Northern Cambria School Board at 6 p.m. in the Central Administration Boardroom, the first Tuesday of every month, except the months of September, October, and November, which they will be on the Wednesday. And our regular meetings will be at 6 o'clock p.m. in the boardroom on the third Tuesday of every month, except September 17th, October 15th, and November 19th. These are Wednesdays, and mostly because volleyball schedule is on Tuesdays and Thursdays throughout the week, and that lets board members with kids playing attend without missing meetings if they can. Okay? So I'll make the motion.
Second.
For Mrs. Danielle
fine.
Danielle
Dan and
Hoover.
Jen, yeah.
Any questions or comments on those?
I do have a question.
Yes.
Jerry and Mara, are you guys gonna be here for all of these meetings next year? Will you be in the state of Pennsylvania next year for the entire year?
We'll be here for probably most of the year.
Most of the year, okay, great. That clears that up.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Motion carries.
Okay, be resolved, the Board of Education elect blank as legislative chairman of the Northern Cambria School Board to serve until the reorganization meeting of December 2nd, 2025.
Dr. Krug, are you currently our legislative
I
chairman?
believe I am.
You wanna stay there?
Yeah, do you want us to keep it?
That doesn't matter to me, I'm fine.
I nominate you.
Thanks.
I'll second it.
I'm gonna ask the same question next there, Jen. Okay. Motion by Jen, who seconded that?
I did.
Carol Lee. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Motion carries.
Be it resolved, the Board of Education elects blank as the Northern Cambria representative of the Joint Operating Committee of the AP Admiral Perry Votech for the 2025. Jen, are you this right now?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I nominate Jen Zenshaw.
I would like to
I'll
keep it,
second
thank you.
it.
Okay,
I second.
okay, motion by myself, second by Norman Krug. Anybody else wanna be in there?
No, I thank you, Jen, for doing such a good job.
Yep.
Thanks. It's been a way first.
I know.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Motion carries.
And be it resolved, the Board of Education adjourned the December 3rd, 2024 reorganization meeting at 6:12 p.m. I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Then Mr. Jared Krimenacher, questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Motion carries.
Okay, that's it for that. Okay, we'll go right into the Committee of the Whole / regular meeting for December 3rd, 2024. Do I have to do a flag salute for this?
No.
Okay. All right, an executive session was held on November 20, 2024 at 7:38 p.m. to discuss personnel and contract issues. We had a good one back then too, okay? Just to let you know. I guess roll call.
Dr. Krug?
Yes,
I'm sorry.
Here.
Mrs. Hoover?
Here.
Mrs. Krug?
Here.
Mr. Krimenacher?
Here.
Mrs. Krimenacher?
Here.
Mrs. Lee?
Here.
Mr. Basil?
Here.
Mr. Westrick?
Here.
Ms. Zenshaw?
Here.
okay, guests and patrons. Anyone who has signed up, please state your address and your name, and you get 5 minutes, okay? Do we have them? Okay, Ms. Diane Lasmunsky.
Okay, my name is Diane Weismunsky. I'm at 622 Municipal Road, Northern Cambria, which is Susquehanna Township. I put down my point of discussion is the dog observation. I do not claim to be a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a social worker, but I was at the VOTEC on November 21st at noon, prior to noon. And if you're familiar with the VOTEC, you go in the main door and you go right to the window and you have to sign in and they give you your credential and you put down the time and they have a clock there. And I was in line to do that because I was there for a totally unschool related issue. I was having a meeting there with a different committee. And so as I was standing there, the dog came down the hallway with a handler and a student. and they went off to the side, and they were taking pictures or doing something, and the bell rang. And this group of students came down the hall, and being very observant, I mean, I observe all of you when I come here and get an idea of what I'm thinking. And so anyway, I watched the students come down the hall, no one was smiling and very few were talking. And as they approached the dog, the line bowed in to where the dog was. Nobody touched it, because it was under the control of its, supervisor. But they all like bowed in, and when they passed the dog, every single student had a smile on their face. Now, that was one day, 1 minute in time, but the chatter level went up. They were very quiet as they came down the hall after the bell rang. Having been around children a lot of years, that is something so precious, to have conversation, have interaction, and have a smile for hardly anything. I know that Joe Luther, the executive director at the VOTEC, has been in contact with Mrs. Prebish, and they have talked. The superintendent, they talk about grants, how you get that funded. I don't even care how they get it funded. I say, as a taxpayer of this school district, I want that in my school. I want that for my students that are here, that if a dog's presence is in the hallway, and that could have been the only smile that kid did all day, up until that noon, I was there at noon, on November 21st. It's worth the $8,000, and we're always talking about the mental health, and our kids are so at risk for being bullied, and they're depressed, and all of the things that come up on the table. I say, I was here, there was a discussion last time about intercommunication, with walkie-talkies. No disrespect intended, but I say the dog's more important. You can use your phone and talk to the guy if you have to till you get the walkie-talkies. Sometimes a student only has that one more day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Nora Herbochuk.
Good evening. Nora Robochuk, my address is 479 Ridge Road, that's in Susquehanna Township. On tonight's agenda, there's a motion to hire a superintendent effective July 1st. It is in my opinion that this motion is solely the result of vindictive and spiteful thinking. I understand that you new board members are angry that the building consolidation is occurring. And the Krug's angst is made even greater because the future of the subpar softball field across the street has been brought into question. It appears to me that the board majority is bent on the vindication of these perceived losses. And although you would like to take action against those truly responsible for these decisions, specifically April Fry, Mike, Jen, Danielle, and myself, you don't have any power to do so. In turn, you have focused all your hostility on Dr. Fasonic, who is guilty of doing nothing more than what the board directed her to do. In front of the public, you have repeatedly refused to respect and accept her knowledge of public education and leadership that she has gained with 35+ years of experience in the field. You have been curt and dismissive of her input and suggestions. There are even times when you have attempted to publicly humiliate her. I don't believe some of you have even given yourself the opportunity to get to know her, instead relying solely on the opinions of others who have openly been against her for the past 2 years. I've been actively involved in this district since 2011 and served on this board for 8 years. Dr. Fasonic is one of the best superintendents that I've had the privilege of knowing at Northern Cambria. She is a local resident with an obvious dedication to the students, welfare of the district, and the community as a whole. The positive changes she has made in educational mapping and curriculum development are noteworthy. Although rarely given credit for it, she actively searches for and implements cost-saving measures. When we hired Dr. Fasonic, We were excited about the prospect of continuity and consistency provided by a long-term superintendent, not one who is going to retire shortly or leave when the next best offer comes in. Dr. Fasonic has always said her intention was to retire from Northern Cambria. Now that is being taken from her because some folks with a little bit of power and a whole lot of anger are seeking vindication. It saddens me that people are willing to end a good woman's career just to appease their fragile egos. In closing, I ask you to consider how you would feel if someone treated your family member the way you have and are treating Dr. Fasonic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, administrative report, superintendent.
So on the agenda, I will talk, it is mentioned the dinner program, and I will talk about that a little bit later. But I wanted to share with everyone, this is a program that we purchased through our PCCD grants, and these are all different. This is the PASS survey that we have our students take. And in this survey, it talks to us or tells us about school climate and what our kids are thinking about our school. The first few pages for the report just mention, how to read the report. But if you go to probably page 8 or so in the report, you'll start to see where it talks about the whole cohort program and factors. Things such as, mine's on page 8, feelings about school, preparedness for school, learners' self-worth, and their response to learning. Now I'm looking at the kindergarten one, so the survey that our kindergarten students take is much different than the survey our high school students take. And what's great about this is that it kind of gives us a barometer, a temperature of what our students are thinking. And what I do with the administration is then we take these results and we work with our SWIBIS team and we work with our teachers and specifically trauma-skilled schools to help find our teachers, or our students rather, find connectiveness within the school. Some of our biggest things across the entire K-12 has been attendance. And that has been a difficult issue ever since COVID. Just attitudes towards attendance and that sense of belonging or wanting to be in school. So those are definitely things. I think a therapy dog would certainly help with that. I think a lot of the work that the elementary, the middle school principals and the high school principals have done with the school-wide positive behavior, which is more about teaching positive expectations and making those personal connections with kids. So this has been very, very useful. We paid with this through the PCCD grant, and it gives us lots of great information. I know Mrs. Previous shared this with her department chairs today, so to look through that, and I know they were going to address specifically attendance at the high school. And she had come up with a great idea in that they looked at the list of kids that have missed 10 or more days already. And it's kind of, she said, it's like my adopt an angel tree. So we're going to have teachers adopt this kid. Sometimes all it would take was just, hey, it's good to see you here at school today. Glad you could make it to school. That's all it takes sometimes to get a student to school. So this has been very helpful and has been very useful. And I just wanted the board to see that, how we're using this information, why we give it. We give it 3 times a year, Angela. So Angela's been my principal that's been in charge of this. I try to make each of my principals in charge of certain things so that they can become experts in those items. Angela has become my expert with the PASS survey, and she helps disseminate the data to everybody and set those up. These are online surveys that the kids take. These are self-reporting. And then we can also go one step further, is we can look at individual students and their responses. So when we look at an individual student, and our SAP teams and our SWIBIS teams are going to take a look at that, they will look and see, for example, if there's a kid that has lots of reds and lots of oranges, which means not very satisfied, those are students that we need to look closely at. What's going on in their home life, what's going on in school, are there other extraneous issues that are causing those? And again, it's all about what I've always said, removing barriers to learning. We have to do whatever we need to do to remove those barriers, whether that's mental health, whether that's support through our social worker, therapy dog, whatever it is, we want to try to remove those barriers so that we can educate our students. So I have data for K-12. If anybody is interested, I will be more than happy to print this out for you, take a look. And like I said, I don't have the individual data because that's confidential. We just use that with our staff. But it is well worth the money we spent. And we did use this with a PCCD grant money.
And this is the first year that we have data, so we can't,
Last year, Angela just started middle of last year. That goes again with consistency. The importance of having consistent administrators. I had Krista Templeton in charge of it. And then when she left, Angela graciously was pushed into that and she took care of it. And so yes, so this is the first year that we have enough data we can look from last year. And the other interesting thing too is you can actually look at cohorts of students. And it's interesting, and we all know as teachers, sometimes your 7th graders are different than your 8th graders, and they're different than your 9th graders, and they have different issues. We can even break it down according to gender, males and females, and look at how they perceive school. So it's been a great tool, and just want to know that we are using the data with that. So, and you can just return those to me, leave them here if you want more. I'll provide you with whatever you'd like. Thank you.
Thank you. Principals, elementary.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Just wanted to do a couple of shout outs. 3rd and 4th grade. This is our 2nd annual Macy's Day Parade. The 3rd and 4th, yeah. The 3rd and 4th grade teachers have organized the kids to make their own clothes. This year there was a lot added. Of course, Santa ends the parade, and just the smiles on the kids' faces. And it got bigger this year than last year. So it's just amazing. The 3rd and 4th grade teachers teach the students about the history of the Macy's Day Parade. And, of course, then they walk through the halls for everybody sharing. So it was great. Shout out to them for doing that. I'd also like to thank the special education department for a fun-filled PBIS activity. The kids loved it. It was a very physical activity. Thanksgiving games, and then it ended with paper chains of all their Thanksgivings, and then we made the chain. They strung it together, and it's hanging outside the office. Very nice. The kids got a big kick out of that too. We just had our feast. Well, we had 2 feasts. We had our kindergarten feast out in the hallway. That's always a lot of fun. And then Mrs. Lytle had a Friendsgiving. She invited some of us over for that, and her students were so welcoming. So that was a wonderful activity too. I'd also like to say thank you to Mrs. Lytle and her crew, Bridget, Carrie, Tara, Sandy, and the students for decorating the elementary courtyard and the hallway for Christmas. It looks absolutely magical. I said I'd like to put a mobile desk out there and work out there, or at least look out the window. It's beautiful. Allison Pattison gave our 3rd and 4th graders the opportunity to watch the Johnstown Symphony Orchestra via live stream from school. And they loved it. They all sat there so quiet. We weren't sure how they were going to enjoy it, but they loved it. So it was really nice to see them have that opportunity. Also, Allison, because we didn't have room this year due to the renovation, she brought our performances back, our musical performances. But the space was an issue. So what she did was she still prepped each group for the performance, and then she taped it all, spliced it all together, and created a performance for everybody to see. So loved that. That was a lot of extra work for her, and it was her idea. So I'd like to thank her. We also had the opportunity, author, musician, illustrator Alan St. Jean came to the school again. I believe this was his 3rd visit, and the kids love him. He teaches them about writing and the writing process, gets them excited about putting their words down on paper, and he so kindly, he gave the entire 3rd and 4th grade their own book, and K1 and 2, the teachers in classrooms got books. He didn't have enough to give everybody, but, so very thankful for that. And just 2 other things. Again, this is a night for Mrs. Lytle, she'll be mad at me. But I don't think I've ever mentioned, they also started, and this is the life skills classroom, the Cold Cafe. They got a little cart and they push their cart around once a month selling food and snacks to the staff. But her students help, and the staff loves to see the students. It's great for the kids, they're dealing with money, and so I'd like to say thank you to her for that. And lastly, Olivia Lichty, our social worker, is always busy. She last year started at the school our own angel tree project, and the staff is very wonderful about donating and picking up all of our families that are in need for Christmas. So I'd like to say thank you to her. Thank you, that's everything.
Middle school.
Hello. I just wanted to announce our November Students of the Month. For 8th grade, we had Beth Ann Snyder, 7th grade, Macy Hoover, 6th grade, Braden Kammerer, and 5th grade was Lily Hassan. Earlier this month, we had parent-teacher conferences, and our teachers reported it was a very big success. They love to have opportunities to discuss students' progress with their families, so I'm glad to hear that. Middle schools, we don't get as many people coming in, but the teachers still, they actually get very excited when they see them, because a lot of times middle school parents start to pull away, so that made me happy to hear. I'd like to thank Mrs. Stacy Datsco for working with her 7th grade students to create the mural in the cafeteria. I wish that we still had our board meetings over there so you guys could take a walk right around the corner. It is absolutely beautiful. I can't describe it. She called it a psychedelic stratified tribute to the colors of the school, but it is really an awesome display of Colt pride. I mean, the colors and the design, geometrical, looks great. The kids were all super excited. The cooks were like, what is that? What's it called? What does it mean? Is that supposed to look like something? I'm like, it's just art, so.
And she had a grand opening.
Yeah,
I
she
went
did
to, and it was great because the kids were there, the parents were there, and all the kids lined up underneath the portion of the mural that they did. And we
Yeah.
got a picture, so they were very excited.
It really is nice. Please,
Yeah.
What's the title of it again, Mrs. Gibbons?
oh gosh, I don't
Say
think
it
it's
one more
title.
time.
She called it a psychedelic stratified tribute to the colors of our school. I'll give you a copy of my notes. Upcoming events at the middle school this month will feature our chorus and band students performing their talents. If you're looking for a fun way to get into the holiday spirit, please come sing along with the choir tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at the high school. And on Wednesday, December 18th, that is a schedule change if you had written down before. It is now on the 18th of December, and that will be holiday tunes with the band also at 7. And I would just like to close tonight by saying thank you to the school board and especially Dr. Pasonic for believing in me and giving me an opportunity to serve as the middle school principal over the past year. And although I've decided not to stay in school leadership right now, the time is not right for myself, I really do appreciate the opportunity that I've had here at Northern Cambria.
Thank you.
Thank you.
High school.
Good evening, everyone. I apologize for going back and forth tonight. I'm actually in class online. My doctoral classes are Tuesday nights, so I'm working in class and coming back and forth. Our first Veterans Day program was held on November 19th. We had about 15 veterans attending our breakfast and program in the auditorium. Representative Dallas Kephart and Mike McCombie were our guest speakers. We gave all the veterans in attendance a Northern Cambria hat with an American flag. B&B Printing donated a portion of the cost of the hats, and we'd like to thank them for that. Before our students were dismissed to go back to class, they each came up and shook the hands of the veterans, thanking them for their service. And the veterans were very moved by how respectful our students were. And a few even stopped by the next day to deliver thank you notes to our students, which was really nice. The marching band will be participating in both the town holiday parades on November 29th and December 13th. The middle and high school band concert will be held on December 18th at 7 p.m. in the high school auditorium. Congratulations to Gabriella Woodside, who represented Northern Cambria at the Cambria County Chorus on November 25th and 26th. Congratulations to Gio Toronto, Haley Nelson, Emma Pounds, Zoe Mandrick, and Madison Stafford, who will represent Northern Cambria at the Cambria County Band on December 5th and 6th at Bishop McCourt High School. Congratulations also to Zoe Mandrick, who won a seat through competitive audition at the PMEA District 6 Band, which will be held in January at Bellwood-Ennis High School. Our Powering Pittsburgh team competed in the championship round at Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh. Our students placed second, winning $2,000 at the TSA chapter. They beat Fox Chapel and Greensburg Central Catholic Schools, and this marks the third consecutive year our students have brought home a trophy, and cumulatively, their prize totals $8,000. College prep classes and seniors interested in applying for a college visit will visit the University of Pittsburgh on December 4th to tour and learn about the application process. The National English Honor Society collected items for the Colt Closet, collecting hundreds of items for families, including cleaning supplies, snacks, and non-perishable food items, and hygiene products. Krista Platko placed second in the Fall 2024 DTRA IRM Drone Challenge. She'll be awarded $200 for her high score in this virtual drone challenge. The competition was open to college, high school, and middle school students. And lastly, Ricky Kirsch created a video that shows the progression of the building project, and I will share that HTTPS, the site out to share with board members. I asked his permission first, I didn't get it granted yet, but it's pretty cool. He must be using a drone to fly over, and he's been filming it gradually, so it is a progression of everything that's happened at the building, so it's really interesting, but it was student-made, but I wanted the permission before I shared that. Thank you, everyone.
Business.
I've handed out since this month, the holiday and whatnot, I typically do the ticket information and submit to you guys via email. I also did that today, but it wasn't until late since I wasn't in yesterday. So I've given you a copy on your desks or in front of you there to show you the breakdown of the Pliget information. The first one is, I'll go over real quick, is the interest earned. The total, as I show you each month, is broken down by month in each one of the specific accounts. And as you can see, this month was significantly higher, and that's because we had two large CDs or term products that came due in both the 22 and 23 bond series. So what happens is we do not, as I mentioned to you guys in the past, we do not reflect interest earned as it's occurring. We reflect it whenever we actually receive it, and that happened this month with two of those large amounts. So as you can see, we had a significant amount of interest earnings for the month of November, $404,000, which brings our total for this fiscal year to $693,737 of just interest earned on our investments. So then the other sheet that I've handed out is the analysis of all the accounts. We have the general fund, the ending balance in our general fund, and again, these are all Pliget, is $2,412,915. Capital reserve is $103,991. And as you can see in that, in the yellow box in the capital reserve, you can see that there was a $4,714 transfer made. That was the amount that was due for the difference or the addition in the weight room. That came out of the general fund, or I'm sorry, the athletic fund. As you can see in that fund below, in the middle of the page, there's a negative of that same amount going out of the athletic fund. That balance at the end of November was $217,175. And the Series 2022 funds, there's $3,490,861 remaining. And the Series 2023 is $10,098,163 at the end of November. And that brings us the total amount in Pliget at the end of November of $16,323,106. That's it. Any questions?
Thank you.
Cafeteria.
So we have 13 days left before Christmas break, and I just wanted to let you guys know what we have planned for December. So tomorrow we'll be starting off with a Wellness Wednesday snack for our elementary students. And then on December 13th, we will be having a hot chocolate bar for our high school students. Boba lemonades are coming back for Boba Fridays for our middle school students because they love them so much. And then we'll be having our Christmas dinner on December 18th at both buildings. So that is it for this month.
And if I could add something, I just want to thank Kristen. We have been working staff-wise on the Wellness Wednesdays as well. And our school nurse, Brittany Wayland, put together a walking competition. So every month we try to focus on something for the staff for a wellness as well. And that's all part of our wellness committee that I kind of reinstituted that we didn't have and been working closely with Kristen on it. So I want to thank, the school nurses for helping out with that as well. So we're looking at wellness of our students as well as our staff. And Roland, you didn't win the walking contest.
I didn't do real well on that.
You were trying. I know you were. I
The
know
only
you were.
reason is because of hunting season.
We headed to an executive session, there's 2 items on here that we need.
Maintenance.
I did even, a couple things to mention. Got the stadium and the track winterized, finished that up last week. We worked with Ron with the borough, got the water drain down there for that, so we're all good till spring. HSB insurance requires an annual boiler inspection. I scheduled that last week and got that all up at the high school. We can't do ours down here yet, the elementary and middle school, until we get finalized with what their project entails. But the high school went well, we got our certificate, and the boiler stamped. Also finished last week the DEP air report. Had about a day and a half worth of online work with them, fill out all that information, but that's all submitted and came back with a good report, so we should be good with that. This Thursday, I got the generators for their annual service being done at the high school and here at the elementary middle school, so that'll be this week. Other than that, just normal day-to-day work tickets. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Be resolved, the minutes of the November 6, 2024 Committee of the Whole and the November 20, 2024 regular meeting are approved as presented. Have a motion? First, Mr. Mike Basil, second, Mrs. Mark Hohenhofer. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Motion carries.
Okay, you can have the enrollment data in front of you. We fluctuated from last month again. Building grounds cafeteria. Item A for discussion, discuss the Colt logo to be used throughout the school renovation, as per attachment number 1.
So the contractors are now asking for our logo. And this is something that has been traditionally used. I've shared it with all of you, the different colors. There are some organizations that are using a different logo. So moving forward, I'm very much like, I think it's appropriate that we say, this is our logo, this is what we're using. And we'll make sure that that gets out to all the booster clubs so that anything that's associated with Northern Cambria has that logo. So if you're fine with that logo, then I'll make sure that's forwarded to the builders.
So that would be the one that is,
So it's several colors, but it's the one that's hanging in the auditorium right now, the middle school auditorium.
Are we deciding between the colors?
I don't think colors matter,
Which
more
one's
so.
going on the gym floor?
I think this one,
with
black and gold will go.
but he'll be yellow, the body will be yellow.
No red eyes, right? The demon one. Good.
No red eyes.
Yeah.
Unless it's better, unless aesthetically it's better to have it black,
I think I want the white,
you know?
honestly.
What's that?
I think
So
like the
I
white
kind of
one.
leave those up to Hank, the architect, you know, whatever color he would think would be best, but those are all.
You should be involved in that. Kate.
Yeah,
That's
that's
gonna kind of blend in. That's why I was thinking.
Carol's already
later.
looked at it. We've already discussed it.
What did you prefer?
I told him whatever he picked, you know, really doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, this is the branding.
Wanted to
We have to,
Well, I think the branding is the horse itself. I think the colors, what I would send out is also, if you want to mix colors, these are the colors you use. There'll be a specific yellow, a specific gray,
okay,
white, a specific black. Like, for example, I remember at some school districts I work at, it was blue, it had to be Columbia blue. It
Right.
couldn't be anything but
Penn State,
Columbia
yeah.
blue.
yeah.
And certain, so what I can work on is something like a page handout with these JPEGs, whatever vector, icons on it, and say, here are the colors that you can choose, and if we all stick with those colors, then I
Like a
think
style
we'll be
guide.
good. Yeah,
Right.
this
Like a style guide.
style, and these are the 3 different colors, whether it's gray, yellow, or white, and then that does give the group some artistic input, I guess.
Right.
You know,
Within our
color-wise.
boundaries, yeah.
Right, but within boundaries, so. Just wanna make it official.
Thank you.
Be it resolved, the Board of Education approves the presented Colton logo to be used throughout the renovation building project. Motion by Mrs. Mark-Menacher,
Second
so Mrs. Carol Lee. Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Motion carries.
Swimming pool, discuss the cost analysis and use of the swimming pool. This is a non-voting item, so. What do we wanna know?
I wanna know the condition of the pool right now. What is the current condition of our pool?
The condition of the pool is open, and it is usable as of right now,
Why have we not been using it?
because it hasn't been usable until very recently. I gave the contractors a date of, I think, December 3rd or December 2nd to have it open.
They just finished the lights on last, Wednesday, I guess it was, Tuesday, Wednesday. And we had to put some new ductwork in the existing, tie in the existing ductwork in the middle of the pool and extend it over into the boiler room. So they just finished that up on Wednesday as well.
So, and I know that,
And we still have a little bit more work to do in there, but it's around our schedule, so.
so, and I've contacted, the one, lady that did some of the classes, and she was interested in starting in January again with those, swimming classes for the public. I know the swimming for middle school is starting January, so we have that starting with them.
That's one of the
So,
next.
and I think too, it would be, I think now's a good time to also have open swims. So we get a lifeguard from YMCA in Indiana to help us. So we'll see if we can work with them again to man some of our open houses and open swims. I think that's a good time to offer that to the community. Kids will come out for that in the winter months.
What ages do we start swimming in school?
We start
Middle school usually.
I don't even know
Fifth
what.
grade, I
Is
think.
it fifth grade?
fifth grade, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, and next year when the high school's down here, it will be put into that curriculum as well. So we will have it in the high school as well. And what we'd like to eventually do, again, you know, we have a pool, we don't have a swim team, but hopefully by putting it in gym class, that will get more of our kids excited about it. It's a great life skill that we wanna make sure that they have and they're trained for. And also, hopefully, we can train up some of our high school students to become our lifeguards. Because that's the limiting factor, whether or not we have a
We have
lifeguard.
several students
Yes.
currently now that are lifeguards that work throughout the summer, so we do
Correct.
hire them from within first.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, I mean, speaking with districts outside of us, Cambria Heights specifically, there's a generation of students that don't know how to swim because they don't have a swimming pool. And so, I know even just by going to the Patton Pool, my daughter was a lifeguard there, and she said, these people don't swim, they don't know how. And it's because they didn't have a pool. So this life skills, it's important that we're giving this to our students.
What percentage of the school year does each grade who uses the pool get to use the pool?
Each grade right now, they use it for one marking period. So as we
So
rotate
one
through,
complete 9 weeks per
one
grade.
complete 9 weeks. per grade?
And that's currently?
I'm not sure.
It would be, it depends on the schedule of the person that comes in to help coach with Mr. Mullen. It's a gentleman, do you know where Davis from?
Yeah.
St. Francis, but they coordinate schedules. I don't have an exact number, but they do also, last year we used the pool for some PBIS events. So even on days when they weren't using it for instruction, we actually had high school students come down, we paid them to work for us to run an event with the kids, like using the pool as one of their activities.
And that was during the school day?
Correct.
During the school day, so it does involve our kids?
Yeah.
Okay, and I just wanted to know that, so that each grade from those middle school grades and then, hopefully, you know, our high school grades and all the grades, because we're all coming together here soon, can get more use of that. I'd be interested in the cost that we, as far as the chemicals and everything, we looked at it last year, just to compare from this year to last year. And Jeff, I don't know if you would have those figures, or Mr. Paranish, if you probably have the figures as far as the chemicals, what it takes to keep it up, and maybe what the public, as far as their use percentage of that is, and how that's worked into there. So if you could just share that with us, to show us that it's feasible to keep open, or that we, you know, that we can afford it.
Is it gonna be open for like birthday parties and stuff again?
We did a couple times last year.
Yeah, I know there was a few last year, I just didn't know if it would be open again.
Is there a way to figure in what it costs to heat it?
What's your question?
Is there a way to tell what it costs to heat it? That's what I'm
I've said this a number of times previously, we need an engineer to come in here and figure that all out. There's no way I can say that as a guess.
Why was
They need to determine how much, you know, electricity, that the pumps cost, and how, you know, it's a multitude of things that have to be looked at, that there's no way I can do that.
Did we get the right pump for the pool? Wasn't there a wrong pump order or something for the pool at one point? The right one came
Yeah, they
in?
put a starter motor on it last Wednesday.
Okay.
So we're still operating that in a manual mode, but it just got started, so that's another issue yet. But that's all project related.
Good. Okay, item C, pole vault mat disposal. Discuss removal and disposal of the old pole vault mats from the track complex. The new mats are scheduled to be delivered on or around December 9th.
We just need to know if the board wants us to dispose of them, or if you want us to keep them. Roland might have some more
I
information.
talked with Dan Pajak before the holiday, and mentioned that he was gonna check around with any other school districts that might be interested. I highly doubt it, but he was gonna throw out an email. I did make a couple of phone calls, and there is some interest from Extreme Cheer that they may be interested in those mats. I told her if she wants to come look at them and felt that that was something they could use, you know, better than throwing them away, but that's up to the board.
Can we, the next motion here, can we donate them to anybody who wants them? I mean,
Saves us.
pending, I say we
rather,
dispose of them pending on donating to whoever
Yeah.
wants them.
Should we make sure they're safe, given that we've been told that there were mice in them last time? Like, I don't think we should donate
Take it
anything
their
that has
own, well, they can take it their own
Risk.
Right.
Donations, that's true.
just because they're old.
weather.
Dan
I
said we
mean,
had,
I mean,
I'm
they
for
wanted
like
more power to them, is the way I
Right.
looked at it.
Yeah,
exactly, I
On
wouldn't
fire.
Yeah.
donate
Fine,
somebody a
which is
liability.
Good enough? Good enough? Alright, good enough, okay.
Okay, that sounds
Be
good.
resolved, the Board of Education gives permission for the athletic and maintenance department to remove the old pole vault mats from the track complex and dispose of them via the trash. Motion by Mr. Jerry Krimenacher, second by Mr. Carol Lee. Any questions or comments on those, other than what we did?
If we vote to dispose via trash, then are we not able to give them?
Toby said if
If
anyone
someone
wants
comes
to
and
come
takes
get
them
it,
out of
go
your
ahead.
trash heap, that's fine.
Got it.
Yeah, if you wanna come and get it.
If,
Yeah.
so if somebody wants them soon, let.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Good deal.
Motion carries.
Okay, December payment of the bills. Be resolved, the Board of Education authorized administration of business office to pay the December bills as necessary due to only one meeting this month. A list will be provided at the January regular meeting for review.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mrs. Mark Kronacher. Second by Mrs. Daniel.
Yes.
Okay. Daniel Hoover. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Motion carries.
Okay, Act One resolution, discuss the Act One resolution for the 2025-26 fiscal year. Go ahead, Roland.
Each year, the Act One resolution can be chosen by the board. Each year as well, PDE puts out a index and it's applied to each school district throughout the Commonwealth. Northern Cambridge's index is 5.9% this year, which means that the district or the board of directors can increase taxes no more than 5.9%, which in our case, since we are at 60 mils of tax, equals 3.54 mils. So if the board approves this Act One resolution, they are assuring the taxpayers that they will not raise taxes above 3.54 mils. They can raise taxes any amount up to that, but they cannot go above 3.54 mils.
Can you tell the people what they base the index on?
Yes, it's income, they use the wages of the district. Well, first of all, they come up with a straight across the board index for the entire Commonwealth. It's 4% this year. But each school district is looked at separately, and then they are, there's two components, and it gets very detailed, but it's based on wages, and it's also based on the cost for in our case, for school district wages and salaries for elementary and high school. So they take a look at those averages across the state and apply those two numbers. Again, it's based on each district's income level and each district's expense level for their teacher salaries and benefits. So out of that computation, they've come up with this 5.9%, and again, it allows us a little higher than 3.5%, 3.5 mils.
So most of it's based on our operating costs?
Some of it, yes, based on the actual.
Over the state increase. Like you said, the state's 4% statewide, so the increase to 5.9 is based on our operating costs.
I wouldn't make a blank statement like that. I would say that there is, in the computation, it's based on what our income is, the general income of the district. So the lower the income your district is, the higher percentage you can make, as well as, I believe, the costs, your operating costs for your teachers, which would be lower than normal because we were allowed to raise taxes higher than the average.
Okay, just so I understand, what you're saying is it's based on our income somewhat. So the lower the district makes, the more you can raise taxes to pay for the teacher's salaries.
It doesn't.
That's what you're saying.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
Oh,
I'm saying that two of the components that they use to figure the index out are income of the people that live in the district and the expenditures for salaries and wages and benefits for the teachers of the district.
I don't know what I'm misunderstanding here.
What's that?
I said I don't understand what I'm misunderstanding about that.
So
I know our costs for the teachers are higher.
I'm saying that the index is based just on our cost for teachers. It's not.
No, I didn't say that either. I said the lower our income for the district, which is the people's salaries, if it's lower, we get to raise our taxes, mills-wise, more because we have to pay for the teachers' salaries.
And every other cost. I mean,
Well,
it's
the
not
operation
just
of the
teachers.
district.
I mean, you're bringing the salaries in, but we have more costs than just teacher salaries.
I said operating costs of the district.
Yeah, but that's not just for the salaries. Yes, it's for the entire cost of the district.
Okay.
And one of the other factors is the salaries and wages of the of teachers in the district. So it's not about just paying for teachers, it's about paying for all costs. And again, I'm no economist, this is a long this formula is 2 pages long to figure it all out. And in general, it is based on the lower income or the less better off you are, the higher your percentage will be.
Yeah, and please don't take it the wrong way, I know you didn't do this, I'm trying to
No,
understand
right.
what they're
But
saying.
I don't wanna make it seem as though that we're only talking about wages and salaries here. The wages and salaries portion of it is only
That's why I said
because they
total operating
use
costs
that
of the
as
district.
part of the index computation.
Just to be clear though, all we're doing is voting that we're not gonna increase our, so as long as we have a balanced budget, we don't need increased tax at all, whatever.
Correct.
We're
I
just
just-
simply saying we're not gonna increase more
Correct.
than whatever.
But I'm
the
just trying to,
maximum-
I'm
yeah.
just trying to let the
You're
public
trying to see how
know
we got
why
that millage.
we're not at 4%, we're at 5.9%, which is the average, okay?
There are probably less than 1% or not at 4%. I have the list here, it's pages upon pages. Cambria Heights is at the same percentage we are. Blacklick Township, or Blacklick is a little bit higher. So Northern Cambria
You would
isn't,
expect that.
Is not
It's location.
in a bad way here because of this index.
Okay,
Penn
that's,
Hills School District, 5.6. Penn Hills is supposed to be a pretty affluent district, it's 5.6.
What's Central Cameras?
Pardon?
Do you have Central Cameras?
I need to,
Hold on.
The people
Okay.
there here also live in Hot Town, so it makes it. It is not what it used to be.
5.3.
yeah, we're in the area, it's gonna be about the same.
So we're not, the fluctuation between us and our neighboring schools is not significant.
All right, be resolved, the Board of Education authorizes the Accelerated Budget Opt-out Resolution Act 1 for the 2025-26 fiscal year, establishing the tax index. I'll make the motion for that. Second, Mrs. Mark Krimenacher. Questions or comments? Since I made the motion, we've always said yes to this because you don't want to have to raise taxes above the index, okay? I just wanted the public to know where it came from, that wasn't pulled out of the air for no reason. That's the only reason I said that, okay? Sorry about the confusion. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Motion carries.
All right, nothing at this time for community relations. Therapy dogs.
Yeah, this is me, I guess. I asked for this to be back on the agenda. I know we did the, I guess what I would call administrative function, just kind of moving where we're allocating PCCD grant money. I don't think it really impacts the decision of whether or not we can or should get therapy dogs. I think the district can afford it. Diane spoke about it earlier, which I appreciate you saying that. I thought that was some good information. I mean, I did some digging. Colleges have them at times. They've been shown to, lower stress hormones in students, that they can improve their social skills, their mental health. They actually learn better at times. The way I look at it is we're looking at a very small cost. We're talking a few $1,000s, which I think I mentioned last time is less than the cost of a salary of a lot of athletic coaches, which only lasts for a season, whereas the therapy dog, once the dog's trained, I'm sure, I don't know how the continuing cost can, but to me, this is we all get to vote with our own conscience, but I feel like it's a very minimal cost for what I would call probably student benefit. If we impact one student for $3,000, I would call that a win, and I would guess that there's gonna be a lot more wins than that, and again, they're using this in colleges. There's proven science behind it and benefits of student impacts based on emotions, social, mental health. So I just think it's something that we need to reconsider. I really could have cared less where we were taking money from. That's why I really didn't care about the PCCD grant. I don't like to get caught up on where the money's coming from, because again, that was just a reallocation of money between buckets. So I really just want to mention, I think it's something we need to reconsider. I think Lisa was committing her own personal time, in a sense, to do this. She's talked in the meeting, brought a full presentation many months ago about the benefits and how the program would work. I just think that this is really again, one of those decisions, like I look at it from the money that was being donated from Rosebud, like these are the types of easy decisions we want it's a small cost and it's something that in my mind is a benefit for students. So I just asked for it to be re-under so we could discuss it and hopefully have a vote at the next meeting.
I can also add that Lisa has 2 of her dogs in training right now. And there is a lot of research that also shows that poor readers, elementary readers, when they read to a dog, they do better because the dog does not judge you as you're reading or mispronouncing or misreading. So when you take young children that are poor readers and you give them a book and sit them down with a dog and have them read out loud to a dog, it improves their reading skills and their want to read out loud. And there's a lot of research that actually goes and shows that. So we would not only use it for therapy, but I think that would be also a great avenue to use for some of our struggling readers to be able to use that.
I mean, being at the VOTEC, I am 100% for therapy dogs. I see what it's done for our students, our staff, our faculty. You know, it helps de-escalate a situation. Sometimes we have students who are in conflict or just having a really bad day, and they just, you know, sit with our guidance counselor, and the dog comes in the room, and they just, you know, pet the dog, just have a few moments, and then it's like their cares just kind of floated away, and the big problem wasn't really all that it surmounted to be. It was a lot of emotions. And so I'm for therapy dogs. Of course, we'd have to investigate and make policy and how to take care of it. And if, you know, Mrs. Prebish would leave, what would we do? And who has the dog? Things like that. We would have to work all of that out, but I am for the therapy dogs to be in our school. I think it's good for our students and teachers.
I have a couple comments. Okay, first off, the 2 dogs of question are not a hypoallergenic breed. That could be an issue among our kids. There are dogs out there that are hypoallergenic, that don't shed, they don't, you know, if you have allergies, I'm a dog lover, I have dogs, not against dogs in any way, but it doesn't mean that I want to jump to bring this dog into our school, especially if they're hypoallergenic, because I know the differences between some of the breeds, and that would be a concern for me. Second off, if it ties up a staff member, that's a problem because we need all our staff for our kids right now. Thirdly, we do have a dog through the REACH program that we can get to even try it, sample it. We've never done that as far as I know. And then finally, we have a new school. Are we sure we want to do that? You know, as soon as we open our school, bring this dog in, they make messes, okay? I have dogs, I know that they do. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Maybe we need to pursue this for a little longer, just to see, you know, some other options.
Norma, do you know how we would go about getting the dog through REACH? Can you explain that?
If we can make a phone call and you can reserve the dog, you have to put in a time period where you want the dog to come. You can bring this dog in.
Actually, Lisa did talk to our REACH counselor. There is no dog. There's one dog in Somerset County, and the REACH counselor from Somerset County, it's her dog, and she schedules the dog at them. The dog does not come up here.
We can get it here. We
They
just
said
have to,
no.
we have to reach out. Yes, we can. But yes, it takes some effort. There's a Julia through there. Her name is Julia. It takes some effort. And I'm, you know, I'm not gonna get into
Yeah,
this
if you could
discussion
just,
here,
no, if you could give us
but
the number, I'll
I
have Lisa
do
call.
know that our school did not contact the person I spoke with.
Okay, because who we contacted through REACH said no, but we'll be happy to contact that person if you get me that information.
And as far as the dog goes, when you bring these dogs in, if you have other students, you know, there are other kids, most kids love the dogs, like you said, but there are some that are definitely afraid of dogs. And some, you know, there are different breeds of dogs. If they're not hypoallergenic, you're dealing with that. And you've got shedding and all that to deal with. So those are my concerns. And I do have dogs.
You still going?
Yeah, I'm
Go
just gonna say, you know, I have dogs in my house, I like dogs, I'm not disregarding the fact that I think dogs can help people, but like Mike said, okay, so if we impact one kid, but what if we have the adverse reaction for another kid, is my concern, you know what I mean? Like, so yes, you have the potential that you could help somebody, you know, they could calm down, but you also have the adverse where you could make a situation more heightened, or a kid not wanna come to school because that dog could be there. That's just, me.
That's fair. I mean, first off, let's be realistic. If we have to schedule a dog to come in here for a need that we have
constantly.
daily, to me, that's not even an option. Now, I don't disagree, there's a lot that we have to work out. One is liability, how does that even impact our insurance? The hypoallergy, completely fair, we'd have to discuss that. There's always gonna be what I would call two sides of the story, but I think that if a student, this isn't a dog that we're gonna just sit there and probably, I'm assuming, we'd have to discuss all the logistics of this. I'm just saying, I think the idea makes sense, but I'm assuming we're not just gonna take a dog around and force it around students. We're gonna somehow have a way to evaluate what students wanna,
Correct.
wanna be around the dog and what don't. Again, logistics need worked out. All I'm saying is the idea of a therapy dog for $3,000 is what I'm looking at, the cost versus the benefit. I'm not saying that we have all logistics worked out.
But
Yeah.
if you're saying $3,000 for the dog, that's fine, but what about the handler for the dog? And
Well, I think, again, those are logistic questions.
so
Lisa's
it's
was
not
gonna be
really
the handler.
3,000,
Well, it is.
it's more, it's gonna be more, because.
It's not a penny more. Lisa's in the school. We're
If
not
she-
paying a penny
if
for her.
something
That's all.
happens to her health or something, and she
You-
leaves, we're out there.
It's an extra duty.
Just make sure it's one at a time, guys.
Yeah,
No, you can talk, but just do it
yeah,
one at a time.
yeah.
I think she had mentioned that, she would, she would take the dog to and from the school, and if she wasn't there that day,
Somebody else would take
the
it,
dog didn't come.
okay.
Because they're
Because if
in her
someone else-
care. And I
someone
know
else
that's
is
what happens
taking
at the VOTEC, that caretaker has the dog, and if she doesn't come, the dog doesn't come, no one goes to the dog doesn't live at the school, it goes home. And when, she doesn't come, it stays at home with the handler, so, I mean.
It's her dog, we don't know.
It's her dog, right,
So no one else is gonna handle it?
that's not true.
I don't know,
Well,
logistics wise,
yeah,
I'm not
that's-
sure of
I
all
think
the
that's-
logistics.
And you bring up a valid point about people being afraid, because my son is very afraid of animals, and so we would have to work all that out, because on the flip side, my daughter loves dogs, but my son does not,
Yeah,
so
I
there's
see it all
both
the
sides,
time.
right, I get that.
And I'm sure that the other schools that have these dogs and have had dogs for years have policies in place to address
I know,
each
just-
of your valid points.
Sure, and Dr. Luther has mentioned to me, he's the director at Admiral Perry, that he would come, and he's given a lot of information to Lisa on what they do and their policies, and he would be happy to speak with any of us, if anyone has specific questions on how they use the dog at VOTEC.
There she is. I grabbed Lisa so she can answer some questions.
Can I throw out a hypothetical?
Sure.
What happens when we approve therapy dogs and pay for them, and now, being their success, we have IEPs, and each kid wants in order for their IEP negotiation, they want their own therapy dog with them in school, and we have to pay to train on them. We gonna have 30 and 40 therapy dogs in the school at one time?
We
I don't
don't
know,
have
is
to
that part of
say yes.
IEPs? I have no idea. I
What
guess.
happens if the parent says that's what they want?
Well, that's why we have due process. So, and we have parents now that are asking for some outrageous things, and that's when you go through the process of due process. So if it's something that we can't offer, then we say no, and then we deal with it through the courts.
Does paying for therapy dogs ahead of time set a precedence that we can offer it?
No.
That's gonna be a legal problem.
Yeah, I wouldn't foresee that paying for the training of a district-wide therapy dog and allowing a therapy dog in the school would necessarily set a precedent that every kid who has an IEP and requests a therapy dog gets one. I mean, you can sit here and play the hypothetical game all day long, but I would, if that's your worry, I would.
That was just an idea.
Yeah.
Maybe they would get part of the service of the therapy dog of the existing dog.
Sure, it
so we
might
see
be
them daily, but
yeah.
it wouldn't be.
It might be that
their own
between two
individual dog for
classes
8
or
hours.
during a class that student has access to the therapy dog, but I wouldn't be overly concerned that you were gonna burden the district with additional dogs or additional needs because of one dog.
Lisa, who did you talk to at REACH?
I spoke to my REACH counselors that are in the building,
Who do
and I
we
asked.
have?
We
First
have
names.
Bree Georgiana,
Okay.
and she has a student teacher that's with her, but she is the main person, and when I asked her about that, she knew nothing about having a therapy dog through REACH. So she did some research and checked, and she said that Julia, who actually runs the program, is out of Winber, and she has her own therapy dog, but it's only used like in the Winber area, and it is rare that she would bring it out beyond that area whenever we checked on that.
Okay, we good? Okay, item B, psychologist, discuss contacting an in-person psychologist to do an evaluation. Is this something we have to discuss in the executive session or no?
No,
Okay. To do an evaluation on a student as requested by a parent at a cost not to exceed $1,000.
the parent has requested an in-person instead of an online. We normally use online, and previously the board denied us having any in-person psychology testing, so that's why I felt it was important to bring it to the board for an approval. So, the parent is requesting this. We could refuse as a district. They can go to due process and then we can handle it that way.
Is
I
it-
think the easiest is just to provide this,
There's information lacking for me.
such as confidential. If you wanna discuss it in executive, we can certainly discuss it in executive.
Yes or no, board?
What is your opinion, Toby?
I can't,
Is this for an IEP?
I can't.
It's for an
I can't say.
evaluation.
It's for an
Okay. Be it resolved, the Board of Education approves contracting an in-person psychologist for a parent requesting a gifted evaluation. The cost of the district will not exceed $1,000. I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
So, Mr. Daniel Hoover, any other questions or comments? Roll call.
Mr. Krimenacher?
Yes.
Mrs. Krimenacher?
Yes.
Mrs. Lee?
Yes.
Mr. Basil?
Yes.
Mr. Westrick?
Yes.
Ms. Zenshaw?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover?
Yes.
Dr. Krug?
Yeah.
Mrs. Krug?
No, I would prefer more information.
I think I would like to have this discussed in executive session if we don't mind. So we're gonna have an executive session at the end of the meeting. 3 items on here are gonna be included in that, and we will be voting when we come out of executive session on those 3 items. So I'm gonna move this to the end after that, okay? Maternity leave, be it resolved, the Board of Education approves the extension of maternity leave without pay for employee number 3029 from December 10th, 2024 through April 16th, 2025, as stated in the NCEA contract, professional contract, I guess to say, spell it like it sounds, right?
Yeah.
And I'll make the motion for that.
Second.
So Mrs. Jen Zenshaw, sorry, I was right. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, be resolved, the Board of Education discuss and accept with regret the resignation notification of Mrs. Angela Gibbons, middle school principal. I'll make the motion. So Mrs. Mark Krimenacher, any questions or comments? Thank you very much for what you did. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Motion carries.
Okay, be it resolved, the Board of Education approves the following Ignite Education Solutions professional substitutes for the 24-25 school year. I'm not gonna read the people, you can have them in front of you, it's in your agenda. I have a motion,
I'll motion.
motion by Mr. Daniel Hoover, by Mr. Mike Basil. Questions or comments?
I have a concern, I'm excited to see that we have, young alumni coming back and wanting to work in the school. My concern would be that we ask that the 2, young alumni would be used in the elementary, middle school rather than the high school, just because they're so close in age.
Just for clarification, that's Evan Wawara, okay?
And
Just so
Yana.
you know. Yeah, and
I
Mr.,
think they would be more comfortable as well.
Right, just,
yeah,
It's Misco.
so it's not a problem, but I think those are the 2 you were talking
yes,
about.
oh, I'm sorry, I assume it
Yeah,
knows, but yes, you're right. And I'm not sure about Amanda, but if she is that young, then I would say that for her as well.
anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Motion carries.
Okay, item D, I'd like to make a motion to table item D.
Second.
Did you say?
And a second, yes.
Motion to table by me, second by Mrs. Daniel Hoover. There's no questions or comments, so, all in favor?
Aye.
That's up the table now. Okay, anybody opposed of that?
I'll oppose.
Okay, 8-1 table. Okay,
Motion carries.
nothing at the
To
time for
table.
staff development. Fundraiser calendar, be it resolved, the Board of Education approves the following additions to the 2024-25 fundraising calendar. You can read those. I'll make the motion for that.
Second.
Mike, did you do that?
Yeah.
Mike? Second by Mr. Mike Basil. Any questions or comments on those? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed for that?
Motion carried.
Okay, the after-school dinner program, discuss the program providing cafeteria meals outside of the regular school day. I just had some questions on this, only because I don't know, are we required to do breakfast and supper, or just lunch? Well, you're the cafeteria lady, I just wondered,
Under we are required to do breakfast and lunch.
how about supper?
Supper, we are not required to do a supper program, but as long as we're doing one of those two things, you can offer the dinner program.
Okay. And obviously you guys saw my email. Is it gonna be more of a cost to district? And I was talking to Roland about this, and it all depends on how many kids come in and buy their meals, how many people we have serving them, how many people, plus we're gonna have people that have to, this is a reimbursement program, I'm guessing, cause you.
Correct.
Okay, so you have to ask for the money back, so whoever has to supply that information to the state is gonna have to be paid for their time.
We receive reimbursement on the meals that we serve. So it doesn't matter, like, everybody is free at this point in time, because we're under the CEP program. So, if we have 8 kids come that one day, we may have 20 kids come another day. Those 28 meals for that month, we receive the reimbursements for those 28 meals.
When you ask for it.
No, that's something that we claim each month, like we do with our breakfast and lunch program. So that reimbursement will come straight back and go right into the cafeteria fund
For the dinner program.
for the dinner program.
But how do they know how many kids you serve?
Because we, as, like, Donna Lansendorfer is your school food authority. She's the one who goes in every month and claims the breakfasts that we serve, the lunches that we serve. And then if we do decide to do this dinner program, she will go in and claim those meals that we served for that month. So that is straight reimbursement that comes from the state.
How many cafeteria, now, are the cafeteria workers gonna have to be on overtime for that kind of stuff, or, cause right now, you're at bare bones anyway, aren't you? So that's an after-school program.
It's an after-school program that will have to be bid out, based off of seniority, whoever would want to come in, and we're looking at probably 1 hour each day. So it could be your head cook that wants it. It could be the person that comes in at $12. I don't know that information yet. It's, right now, we're in the planning phase of it, we're doing the training phase of it, but once we get, approved, you know, this is something that we'll have to decide on how many meals we actually need to, serve in order for us to know exactly, so that it offsets the cost that we're bringing in for food and labor cost.
Okay, I just had those questions and wanted to ask you, because that's
I
what you
think the
do.
possibility also exists that we could, you know, depending on the, you know, the staff, it doesn't have to be an overtime, that we could kind of maybe fluctuate the start and end time for some of those people.
Yes, we could do that too.
Will that cut down on a regular day? Because you're, like I said, you're bare bones already.
Bare bones
For
already this
staff-wise.
year, but come next year, when we combine, we'll be able to do a lot more with the staff that we have. Like make dinner rolls. Like that's one of my big ones.
What time period are you looking at, like what time frame are you looking at to begin
For
with dinner meals?
The dinner has to be after.
No, I'm talking like put into effect, because you said you're just getting it all together right now. Is this for next school year or springtime?
Well, it depends, because the start of the program is October 1st and it ends September 31st. So, once we get approved, like this year will extend to next school year. So if we don't start it right away, we have to start it then in September of next school.
And I think we'll see our biggest, we already have transportation because we have an activity bus that runs. We run after-school tutoring, so kids that are in after-school tutoring would then be able to get something to eat, go to tutoring. when we're all in one campus, we have lots of athletes. And it will be a huge, huge game for the football kids, for the band, Friday nights. This can be something we can feed all those kids before practice, if they so choose. Again, it's going to fluctuate. Other districts that I've talked to, there are some days they might have, like Johnstown, they said they might have 100 kids one day. Next day they might have 10. So we'll look at those costs and then decide, we may not offer it every day. We may offer it the number of days that we're required and see how that goes, and we can adjust that.
Right.
But we already have a lot of infrastructure in place. We can adjust, like she said, we'll have more people next year. We'll all be on one campus. It just makes sense to offer it to our students. It's not a lot of extra that we need to do. And if they're all getting free dinner, and we get reimbursed for that, it's a win for our kids.
Will this be
Okay.
spelled out on the nutrition group budget plan?
Yes, Michelle will help make sure that that budget gets taken care of.
Good, Danielle.
Okay, does this affect, I'm sorry.
She had her hand up first.
Is this something where we have students who leave early in the afternoon for sporting events? Is it possible that we could have bagged
Yes.
suppers so that they don't, so that they can eat
Yes.
on their way to softball?
We have to have approval by PDE ahead of time that, we have kids going on a field trip or coming home late, that we can do a bag meal, but that has to have PDE approval before we're allowed to do
That
that.
might just be a great way to get the numbers up and get the kids
Yes.
fed.
Absolutely.
So that when, so we can make some money in the fall when the sports are happening, so if there are leaner days going on
Yes.
after that, then we don't. But we've got basketball right now where the kids could be taking food
Yes.
to the basketball game.
I have a good question.
Go ahead, you were before me before.
Yeah, go ahead.
Who does the cleanup? Because our maintenance crew has established hours and we have a contract with maintenance also. So does cafeteria do cleanup? Is that after hours? Is that, cause we're looking at, contracts being in place here as well with their hours, and does that go, because we're looking outside of our school day, so,
So everything that we serve will be on disposable items, disposable trays and everything like that. They are required to eat in the cafeteria. And for those that are going away on a field trip or whatever, PDE approval would have to approve us to do a bag lunch for them. But there would be garbage that needed to be disposed of in the cafeteria that maintenance would have to handle.
okay.
Is this dinner program, is this supposed to be board approved, or can you guys decide that on your own? Since all these questions are being raised.
It's up to you. You guys are the ones who decide whether or not you are going to have a dinner program. It was already approved through PDE when we decided.
And we brought it with
RFP.
the last contract through
Yes.
them. That was part of the contract, was the dinner program. So when you approved the contract with Nutrition Inc., you approved the dinner program.
Is it like a 1-year contract, or say it doesn't work this year?
Every
could you
year is a
opt out?
1 year and you
Okay.
can renew, yes.
That's a good question.
Unrelated, but kind of related, does our school subscribe to the backpack program at all?
Yes, we do.
Okay, all right.
Okay, thank you. All right, transportation doesn't have anything at this time. Athletics, discuss the request received from the Moss Creek Rod and Gun Club to increase the seasonal stipend paid by the district to maintain the range for the rifle team as well as cover the cost of lights and heat during the season. They are asking for the donation to go from $1,500 to $2,000 for the 24-25 rifle season. Pretty self-explanatory. Anybody have anything to add? Okay. Be it resolved, the Board of Education authorizes the request from the Moss Creek Rod and Gun Club to increase the stipend paid for use of their facility from $1,500 to $2,000 $1,500 to $2,000 for the 24-25 rifle season. I will make that motion.
I'll second.
So this is Danielle Hoover. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Motion carries.
Okay, the next item, we're gonna take to executive session also. We're gonna come back out and vote on that when we're done. Okay? So, items to be placed on the CoW. I'm sure therapy dogs is one of them. Am I correct, Mike?
Yes, please. Thank
Do
you.
you wanna do any more research before you do, or no, you ready?
Yeah, I'll try to dig a little more information from the meantime too.
You still
I'll
want
talk
it
to
on?
Lisa some.
You still want it on?
Yeah, I'd like to chat with Lisa offline and see if, get some more information.
I'll put it on
And
to
then
be
if
on
I
if you
could let
decide
know if
not
we
to,
remove
just,
it.
yeah.
Yeah,
let me know.
make sure we're ready
Reach
for it.
out to, I'll have a tech meeting.
Anything else?
And I'll ask him to just send.
Okay.
information.
Be it resolved, the Board of Education moves to executive session to discuss personnel, contracts, and students at 7:29 PM. I'll make the motion for that. Second by Mr. Jerry Krimenacher. Questions or comments? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Now remember, folks, we will be voting on a couple items when we come out. Okay. Be it resolved, the Board of Education resumes the December 3rd, 2024 Committee of the Whole and regular meeting at 7:50 PM. I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Jerry Krimenacher. Questions or comments? All in favor? Anyone
Aye.
opposed? We're back in. Okay. The first item of business that we have to do is the MOU. Page
729. I happen to know
Yes.
tonight.
Be it resolved, the Board of Education discusses and approves the memorandum of understanding between the Northern Cambria School District and the Northern Cambria Educational Support Professional Association dealing with custodian classifications pending solicitor approval and Appendix 1. And I'll make the motion. So, Mr. Jen Zenshaw, any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, and item number 2 is item B, which is 24-12-12. Be it resolved, the Board of Education hires Skylar Eckenrode as the head baseball coach for a 1-year contract for the 2024-25 school year. The salary will be $3,900 according to Appendix C of the NCEA professional contract. Motion by Mr. Daniel Hoover. So Mr. Jen Senchak. Any questions or comments? All right, I'll make the comment that it would really be nice to have new teachers volunteer and sign up to be these coaches so that they can grow with the kids as they used to do in other school districts when they hired them. So that's just my comment on that. So, any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And be it resolved, the Board of Education, be it resolved, the Committee of the Whole regular meeting of the Northern Cambria School Board for the December 3rd, 2024 be adjourned at 7:52 PM. I'll make the motion. Second by Mr. Mike Basil. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?